Do it all, baby.
Recording.
We are live. Welcome back, y'all, to the Metro Icon Podcast, episode 2 with Tubad and Shawn Kay, y'all.
We in this.
We are in this, and not only are we in this, we are in this here in New Orleans, and Tubad's new stationary spot inside his studio space, in his living space.
Hey, you know, that's what we do. Yeah, man. I'm excited about the new possibilities of having a home here in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? We got a home in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we can always go home to Chicago.
That's right. And I did an event in Tampa Bay, and flight came back around 7:30, went home, unpacked, repacked, drove overnight just for my guy right here to make this happen.
Yeah, man. We're actually supposed to hang out and go check out. They got an abandoned naval base here in New Orleans. I was like, yo, you got to.
That's just wild to me, and I feel like that would be so freaky. I feel like there's got to be some spiritual frequency up in that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like, because it's like clearly like they got windows knocked out and everything like that, and graffiti everywhere.
I mean, I'm always down for an adventure, but you can't judge a guy if I start shaking a little bit and I'm acting a little nervous. I don't do good around paranormal activity, even though I've been approached multiple times.
Hey man, just don't be surprised if you see like a office chair just start moving out of nowhere. It happens.
Why would they have an office chair in a naval base?
Because they got offices at the naval base.
I guess, but
they just left it. It wasn't like they were just like, yeah, we're moving out. They're just like, it'll just be.
I guess we're gonna find out. That's for sure. This is gonna be a pretty intuitive episode, I think, man, because I think it's time for the story to be told about where Metro Icon even came from and how it started.
Yeah, man. So I remember when you first told me about it, but like, how did the idea come about to you?
Well, I'm gonna be real. I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty confident about this, that it wasn't long that the idea came and I started working on it, but literally it was one of those like after a joint moment. Like I literally was smoking a J.
High moments.
At high moments. And it's crazy because so many like concepts, even the name of my entertainment company, Do It All. Like I know exactly where I was. It was smoking a joint, and I know which parking lot at Title Boxing Club in Deerfield, Illinois.
Okay.
And but yeah, it was one of those things where it was just kind of like this idea that came to my mind, and I think I actually just came from a karaoke night. And I think I was having a conversation with somebody, and they kind of mentioned how they're like an artist, but they don't do karaoke because it's like not for real singers.
Yo, okay, so speaking of that, like, so I was never into the karaoke thing because, like, I'm a musician, and I come from the classical world where you're just like, oh, I'm above all this. But I had got to this point where I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be a jazz musician, and then eventually, I was like, I grew up in the hip hop era, I don't do hip hop, but I've been doing all of these things seriously, and then I go to a karaoke night with you, and I'm just like, this is actually fun because it's not a thing where you have to be the best,
Right.
Which is kind of like it's an air of freedom.
Absolutely. It's think about it, man. It's like anybody can sing in their shower. Not everybody can sing on a stage and on a mic, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And I think karaoke has been that type of medium between like a social dynamic that is engaging, interactive, it's fun, but it allows somebody to be able to just be that character, sing that song that just resonates with them, but it doesn't come with any judgment. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the funny thing is that I mean I do karaoke often, and obviously it comes with a good amount of praise, and people will be like, "Oh, how do I sing after you?" I'm like, "Easy. Just sing.
do it.
Just
Yeah.
do it."
Like, you don't have to be good. Like,
Right.
The thing that I do love about karaoke is the person who's having the most fun is doing the best.
Absolutely. That's exactly it, man. It's all really not even about your singing acumen. It's all about how much you're like in it, you know? And most of the time when somebody's living in their own zone and they're just going in on it, like that's when everybody's watching. You turn every single head.
So, and what's crazy is that actually runs over into performing because the thing that I've noticed about like real performers, like, yes, you may have practiced this thing 100 times and you may have taken the time to write it, but after you've taken all that time, if you're not having fun on stage and people don't believe what you
Mhm.
wrote,
Mhm.
it doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter how good of a singer you are.
You know, it
Right.
doesn't matter. Like, I've seen amazing singers that people are like, "Ah, okay, cool. That was cool. I didn't believe that you believed what you were singing."
How many times have you like, you heard a record or a track and you're like, yo, this is fire. And then you would go see that person perform it live and they didn't like sell the song. And then it's kind of turned like your energy towards that track because they didn't sell it or deliver it to you in that moment.
Okay, so I'm a big history buff, and this is a common thing nowadays, but it wasn't, in years past. So, if you can imagine this, so, the, Isley Brothers were around in the '60s and
Hmm.
'70s, right?
Hmm.
They were the first really band that was like a studio band. They didn't have great shows.
Interesting.
Everybody before them, amazing shows, and then if you had amazing shows, they made a record. And then they were like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna make these records," and they were amazing, and people come to shows and be like, "Yo, you're kinda whack." And, like but, I mean,
And
eventually
you wouldn't think that too. You wouldn't
yeah.
think because obviously nobody in our generation has seen the Isley Brothers live. But I don't even recall seeing any like
Well,
content.
I mean, today they're amazing performers
Right.
too, but like they grew into that. And like there's a lot of people nowadays who sit in the studio for a lot of time and then they don't think about the live show and they get to the live show and they're like, "Oh, shoot, this is a different thing."
Yeah.
Like luckily I'm one of those people who of course I came from the classical world, went to the jazz world, then to the hip hop world. So I was a performer first and the studio thing came later and it's a totally different monster. It's a monster that I respect.
Yeah.
But also, when it comes to that, if you started in the studio, it's a different monster to be on stage.
Right.
So, like, when it comes to karaoke, the monster is performing, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's not
Yeah.
even the being the most talented. It's
Right.
really having fun and engaging the crowd.
Right. And that's the kind of thing that like and there was no competition. And I know there's like karaoke contests and competitions and stuff, but there was no real like competition that was gathering singers from karaoke nights, but bringing the artist out of them. And I think that was one thing I realized was missing and Metro Icon started. And the funny thing was, and you kind of knew about this whole story, but like, it wasn't originally called Metro Icon, and I had it called Metro Idol. And then we were well into everything. And this thing moves so fast. Like literally, like that joint was end of June and like start of July, like July 1st.
Mm.
I just kind of started working on the variables. It was like one thing, all right, okay. I'm like, okay, I got this. Okay, let me see this. Okay, I got that in. And then that month came in. Then I trademarked the name Metro Idol, and then started creating the logos and the promos. And then I started location scouting and doing all that. And literally, it was from start of July, and then the first night of preliminaries was September 12th. And so, it was all the way through. And then it wasn't until I think our my second week of competition, the actual competition, that's when I got that cease and desist letter from the lawyers of American Idol and how my trademark infringes on their trademark and how Idol is a short name of American Idol and I
Yeah.
have to take Idol out of my name and I had to and I changed my trademark like and the nice thing is like I like didn't have to pay the full like 1,500 I originally did.
Yeah.
I just had to pay like the filing fee or whatever.
Yeah.
But whichever case, it was kind of nice. I'm like, okay, I'm just changing a D and an L to a C and an N, and I'm like, and then and ultimately it ended up being like a bigger blessing than it was a curse. And it was funny. I had a month. I remember getting that letter on October 19th, and I had until November 19th to have everything changed and have it all on all of my platforms, my website, my promos, have it all emulated with the new name. I got it done in a week.
You know what's okay, so what's crazy is that the thing that I've realized as an artist, as a creative, as someone who brings visions to life, whether it be an entrepreneur or anything, is that sometimes God puts something in front of you,
Mhm.
and it looks like a challenge that's gonna destroy you,
Mhm.
and, it turns out to be something that really changes your life, and it's something that you a direction that you never would have went.
Yeah. I actually think that it personified the competition on its own element that was unrelated to anything else, like any other entity.
Yeah,
And I think that's so that again, it became that bigger blessing because people were like, when they heard the name Metro Icon, they're like, I actually like it better. And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, me too. So but this the journey itself, this 100%, and I've been, working for myself for almost 8 years, going on 8 years now.
Mm,
And I was in the business for 15 years since I was about 18. And
yeah,
so this 100%, I mean, obviously my entertainment company, that was like a really challenging climb and a lot of sacrifices made. But this right here, and especially doing something that was, I moved to Dallas from Chicago in November of 2020. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm a fresh kid in this whole area, and like I'm trying to make big moves. And in this competition, it ended right before the holidays, and it also kind of culminated my first year in DFW.
yeah.
And my whole mission coming out to DFW was ultimately to let these cats know like who's in the house now, because I moved out here really understanding, and this is with years of searching, and I traveled to Texas often for events like in Houston and Dallas, as well. But I realized there was nobody like me in Texas. Like that one thing I for sure knew, especially as far as like Indian MCs are concerned. But one that is a showman, that like is a performer but understands the business side of it, and it's not about just me being on the microphone and telling people to put their hands up and all that kind of stuff. There's a different versatility that comes with it. Also, me being an improv comic and just general like comedian, and
Yeah. Mm.
being able to adapt and gab and pay attention to detail, but then also bring out the singer and bring out the live performer and do lead follow dances and do all that and then make it a very interactive performance. I just wasn't seeing that movement here or in Texas yet. So so with Metro Icon, it was nice because I wasn't a contestant. I wasn't,
Yeah.
but I felt like I was getting full showtime. Like I felt like I probably got more showtime. And but all of it, to be the host and curator and producer and director of this show, and all the elements are coming at me, and then you're having to go in to the stage, right? Like, this first one around, we definitely worked out a whole lot of kinks, and
Oh,
I
man.
felt like, and personally, I felt like every show got even better than the last,
And
honestly.
that's the thing that I feel like a lot of artists, people in general, just don't realize is that you're never gonna be as ready as you wanna be ready.
Mhm, mhm.
So you gotta
Just
just
go.
start,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Shoot, my career as a musician, I've seen that time and time again. My friends are like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna practice and I wanna get everything perfect, and then I'll let the world see it."
Yeah.
And then it's 5 years later and they never started.
Mhm,
You know what
mhm.
I'm saying? Like, when you got the big thing is you gotta fail fast.
Yeah,
If you gonna fail,
yeah.
go ahead and fail fast because
Every success story comes with, like, 1,000 failures, like, at
that's
least,
it,
and
yeah.
I felt like actually that, like, doing Metro Icon was like my final test from the universe. It was kind of like, okay, like if you can do this, then you are ready to take on a larger like medium of exposure and within like the media and entertainment world. And I
That's it.
feel like right now I'm in that mode because after Metro, man, it was crazy because there was so much doubt coming my way. Like, and I was bringing this concept, and a lot, everyone pretty much, well, not, well, most that heard this idea, they were like, yo, this is genius. This is a genius idea. And then they saw the monster that this was, like how big it was. And they were like, there's no way this one guy is going to be able to put this together. And there's no way that they're going to see it to an end. And the fact that we went to a finale and I was able to present that big check to, Tony, it was just an unbelievable feeling. And that finale, man, feels feels all over the place. And I think that one response, the common response I got was like everyone felt like they got a little bit of everything. You know, they were like, I laughed, I cried, I was just engaged at the edge of my seat. It was like suspenseful. Like they literally felt like they were a studio audience watching a show or a competition show like live. And I was like, yes. Like that's
I
what,
feel that.
you know what I'm saying? And so how was the experience for you like sitting at the like judge's seat and being one of those because you know and a couple I know in the first few weeks you had some gigs and stuff so we had Meds and Lodi they sat in for you which was awesome because they were great fill-ins and then even Meds he was a big ticker to us starting Metro Iconics and having a band but from your perspective what was your like what was your thought process like when first presenting this idea and this whole concept to you and then you were going to be a judge and what you thought it was going to be and then what it actually was it what you expected it to be?
So with me, when it comes to anybody bringing anything to me, I kind of try to not go in with expectations. And that's just my approach, just because I want it to be whatever it's going to be. And then on top of that, when you brought the idea to me, I'm like, yo, you're my homie. I support anything that you're gonna do because I see too much when somebody is friends with someone, they'll be like, oh, I don't think you can do that. I don't, they'll
You
discourage you
never yeah you never want to be the downing energy on someone's like
because you never know. You
yeah
like that no one knows what they can do but them.
right
And so when it comes down to it, when it comes to your friends bringing an idea to you, you be like, yo, if you're gonna do it, go and do it.
hmm
Like don't sit back, just do it, bro. And then once you see them doing it, you got to be there for them. You know what I'm saying? If they gonna hit some walls, you go ahead and be like, okay, well, you hit that wall, you gonna make the turn or you gonna give up. You know what I'm saying? I don't like giving up. I like
yeah
finishing everything through.
yeah
So I love to see that in somebody when they're ready to do that. And when they're ready to do that, I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna work out.
hmm
But also, when it came to being a judge, to be honest with you, I hate judging anybody's art form. Like, like when it comes to art, I feel like it's a subjective thing. Like,
hmm
there's certain things that can engage crowds, can connect with people more, and I'm a huge fan of doing those things. But when it comes to art, I feel like it's all about expression and believability. And so when we first started, there were some spots where I was just like, okay, some of these people might not be as serious as I want to about this. So I don't want to take the fun out of what they do. But on top of that, I saw some people, I was just like, they really want to do this. And I'm like, okay, cool. You really want to do this? And I come from the classical world where in the classical world, they're like, hey, yo, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what can make it better. So I'm like,
yeah
okay, you really want to do this? I'm gonna give you the real. Okay, look, I see you're doing X, Y, and Z.
hmm
If you want to get the results that you're going for, this is what you can do to make it better.
sure
And I feel like certain people took it and they understood where we were coming from. It's just like, okay, cool. Like whether you win this money or not, we want you to be the
better
artist
yeah
that you want to be.
right
And some people didn't understand where we were actually coming from, and they took it personal. It's just like, nah, it's not personal. Like
I
me,
mean, how can it be though? And
you know,
because it's like you personally usually don't know them other than like maybe their little personal snippets that they give to you. But it's funny. It's funny how people take it personal when it's like we have no reason to have any like malicious personal intent behind the critiques that we're giving you. And
that's it. Yeah.
so I think that it's funny how people take information like that and they make it personal because it's literally their own insecurities of themselves that are battling to try and present validity in what they're doing.
And I mean, that's the thing. Like the thing that I've noticed is that people who take direction well and are can take being wrong
Mhm.
or not necessarily wrong, but can take critiques to make themselves better. Those are the people who tend to succeed in anything,
Anything, yeah,
not just art.
absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's just important. It's important for anybody in climbing to their own success to understand that they are not perfect and they're not going to be perfect, And ultimately, it takes trial, error, and reflection to ultimately see growth and understand what you need to do to navigate yourself to the level of success that you're trying to achieve,
Shoot,
right?
was Metro Icon that ended up becoming Icon, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? How it wasn't a perfect plan to start off with, but over time it got perfected.
Yeah. And
You
it was like, okay, we saw the okay, this wasn't happening. It wasn't working out here. Okay, it was able to shift it. And so that problem was no longer was became a solution for the following week. And then
exactly.
so I felt like every single week there was at least one thing that was fixed for the weeks moving forward.
That's
And
it.
by the end of the thing, there was like, it was just like, okay, boom, model, 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 model. And then, we had that final result. And honestly, man, it was moving because it was the impact, aside from a successful result, the impact that it had on not just the contestants, but the people that were like at the shows watching it in support, but also some people that like just came because they heard of it and they're like, oh, let me watch one show. And then they were back for the second week because like, I have to see what happens. I have to see how this goes. And I thought that for me was like probably one of the most rewarding things that intrigue caught,
Yeah.
caught that hook, you know?
Yeah, there was a lady that came in one night. She was like, "What is this? What is this?" She's like, "Why didn't I know about this?" I'm just like, you're just like, "Yo, it was on radio," you know.
You know what's funny, man? You know what's funny? Like, there's so many people that were like, "How did I not know about it?" Because like I get messages today from people who are like, "Hey, how do I get into the competition? When's the next one?" And blah 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 blah. How come I didn't know about this? And I realize, and you understand this, I think, because you got Chi-Town blood like I do. And everything moves faster, Chicago, New York, it just moves at a faster
Yeah.
rate, and
Um,
Texas is chill, so it's kind of like if you're going to present something, like you got to let that resonate for like 2-3 months, and have them see it like at least 2-3
they got to
times.
see it 7 times.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And then they're
um
like, "Okay, maybe this is real."
yeah. Yep, and so, like, it's gotta be that Facebook ad that interrupts that video at least 3-4 times for it to be like, "Oh, it actually is happening. It's a real thing."
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, it was everything was very fast moving, from start to finish, and so, I think ultimately this first one around was to prove the concept, and the concept was officially proved. So I'm really happy with the result, man. And I think that we are, aside from even just this podcast from Metro Iconics, but you know the singers that came through that competition were not the same people from when they started.
Oh
And
man, like whether they got to the end or fizzled out somewhere in the middle, they all changed. Like, yeah, like, oh my gosh, like the Hernandez family. Oh
oof,
my gosh. And then afterwards to have that night of making
the tamale
tamale
day,
night.
the
Oh my
tamale day, man. We gotta talk about tamale day.
hey.
But that was, man, that was a great, great like close.
Culmination.
It would culminate. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a really good close. We're gonna take a quick short break. I want to check the footage real quick, but just also implement also showing the sponsors, because everything from Metro Icon, the working sponsors that we had, part of it, and the promotions and deals that they were giving, is actually still going to be going until the end of March.
Ooh.
So DFW's, like in all these companies, and we'll put it up on the video so that you guys can see it. But each one of these, you mentioned Metro Icon, it all comes with
Yeah.
a like some sort of promotional deal.
Hey
So
yo, me, if you go ahead and hit one of them slings, those fun.
the slingshots, that, trust me, that was a good one. But we're gonna take a short break, come right back, and talk a little bit more about the journey of Metro Icon.
Peace.
And we are back. We are back here in the Metro Icon Podcast. I'm
Back at it.
Shawn Kay the Showman with my man Tubad.
Too bad in the place to be. Let's go.
That's right. That's right, bro. And you know it's so funny. I remember when, performers would be done singing and you would give your critiques. For some reason, I could not help like after you would say your critique and then the mic was being passed to either Delilah or Larry, I'd be like, okay, not too bad, not too bad. I kept saying that. And I
Yeah.
had to like literally be conscious of it to like make sure that I was not saying that every single time you made a
Hey,
critique.
yo, did I ever tell you how that name really came about?
Too bad? No,
Yeah.
I haven't. I mean, I
Okay.
know it involves the word tuba and
Okay. So I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the fake story that I used to tell people, but now I'm giving people the real story.
tell me the real story.
Okay,
I don't want no fake business.
you want to hear the fake one?
No, I want to hear the real one.
Okay, so the real one. Okay, so the real one. What happened was is I was in college and I was dating this girl, and I had told her I was like, "Yo, I came up with this idea. I think I should call myself Too Bad. Just put a D at the end of Too Bad." She's like, "Nah, that's horrible, and that's too
Always,
too
always gotta
conceited."
be a lady. It's
You
always
know,
a female sharing this
yes.
down,
She
right?
was like, "No, that's too conceited." But I didn't use it for years. And then I got ready to move to New Orleans and I felt like I just needed to be different.
Mhm.
And so I got to New Orleans and I was like, I met the leader of the Dirty Dozen brass band. I ended up touring with them for a little bit. When I met him, he was like, "What's your name? What's your name, son?" And I was like, my name, like I was getting ready to say Amir, but I was like, nah, my name is Too Bad, Too Bad. And then he was like putting away his instrument. He looked back up. He was like, "Too bad." And I was like, I'm keeping it. We're running with it.
Take a cool old black man just to say it say it back to you to make you realize like this is the point right
Exactly. I was just like,
here.
okay, cool. Like this is my artistry name. But
And
yeah.
did you end up calling that girl back and be like, you were wrong?
Nah, you know what? I never got a chance actually I haven't seen her in years.
Yeah,
Like,
there was no third date.
yeah, we dated for a minute. I just haven't seen, like, we kind of like lost connection.
Sure.
Like, she was a great entrepreneur. She inspired me to be a better entrepreneur. But yeah.
Some vibes don't carry.
You know what I'm saying? That's all it is.
It
But
all it is. But I mean, honestly, man, I mean, it was like, when I met you, I would never when I met you, it was too bad.
yeah.
Shout out to my boy Edward, aka Young Vet,
Hey,
from
the
Chicago.
homie.
And we gonna get him on the show because I know he's gonna come back to Dallas, but we definitely gonna get him on the show because he is fire freestyler, man.
Man, have you tried his food?
He cooks?
Dude, he's an amazing chef too.
I did not know that. Young Vet, I thought we were friends. You've been watching this show, you best believe if you come on this show, you better bring a bowl
You know what I'm
or
saying?
something.
Hey.
I want that number one dish of yours. But when he introduced us at Revelers Hall, man, and then he was like, "Yeah, no, you got to meet my boy Too Bad, bro. He's actually from Chicago, but he's like playing with his brass band. But this boy is sick. He can like play any instrument. He's a producer. He like has his own tracks." I'm like, "Yeah, yo, bet. Let's just let me meet this guy." And I met you. I would never have thought that like maybe his name is Amir. Because it was like that was your swag, your swag was Too Bad. And I think that like you carry that name so well in the presentation of your artistry.
But you know what? Okay, so this is the thing. You feel me? I feel like as an artist, you know what I'm saying? Your name might be your name, but at the same token, like that artist is it's a part of you that like it's a more creative you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's when you're out in the world, you're just hanging out,
Absolutely.
you're just shine. I'm just a mirror.
Absolutely.
But when you get on stage, like another part of you comes out
Yep.
that is more intense, more
Mhm.
focused, more, creative. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Mir, I'm just a normal guy, But sometimes, when Too Bad comes out, he's like, "Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he got that swag."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say that, man, because I feel like that, like my demeanor, like, because obviously I was, well before Metro Icon for like the last like 10 years, I would say. I was naturally going to karaoke nights, like, at least, like, 1 to, like, 3, 4 times a week. I was
Yeah.
just hitting up and, like, in Chicago, like, I knew every single day a place that was doing karaoke, and then, like, when I moved out to Texas, to, like, the Dallas area, like, it was the same front. Like, I, like, immediately got on all the Facebook groups and all that kinda stuff, so I was able to see, like, where was, karaoke happening. Some places were dead, some places were popping, but I'm always like, I don't go many places with people. Like, I just kind of gotten out of the mode of texting me, "Oh, what are you doing tonight, man? You want to go with me?" And like, I do not even care for that, putting that time and energy because it's just I'm like,
Yeah, because
most people have, real life jobs or whatever, or
and there's
like,
nothing wrong with
and
that.
there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like people don't live by the unconventional schedule like that I do, that I'm able to go out and during the week. And so it's funny. So I'm going to these karaoke nights by myself, and like, I'm a very silent observer, I'm like, I can engage conversation. Someone talks to me, I can 100% talk to them, and I can definitely go into a conversation or create one, but I'm very much in my own zone, and I'm very much just kind of watching and I'm observing. And then, all right, next to the mic, Shawn Kay, and then I come up, and then all of a sudden that's when the showman comes out,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, who the hell was this guy? Was he here the whole time?
You
Like,
know what I'm saying?
and so, like, I 100% like feel so much of what you said about, like, there is a different persona that you create within your artistry that is like different from the everyday you.
But you know what? I think sometimes people think that us as artists we're all extroverts,
Mhm.
and
It's true. Yes.
you know what I'm saying? We might have an introverted side to us, and sometimes we get drained from that type of performance. I was on tour with this cat, Sir the Baptist, for a while. He was signed to Atlantic Records.
I know that name, Sir the Baptist. Yes.
Yeah, he did his thing. He was
Yeah.
he was swagging out, and like when I tell you, because I used to be running around around like full festival stages with a tuba. We played Jay Z's Made in America one time,
Mm.
and like when I tell you after those performances, like I would be like we would do like a 30-45 minute performance, and afterwards I would get off stage, I have no breath, I'm sweating, I'm almost dead. Speaking of that time that we played Made in America, um, we get off stage, I'm tired, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." Jay-Z is literally 5 feet behind my back,
What?
didn't notice he was there until he was gone, and there's a picture of my back turned to Jay-Z.
Oh my God. I mean, I would be kicking myself in my own ass.
I saw, how people used to talk about freaking what's his name? Prince, and then you'd be
Yeah.
like, man, he was like floating. I feel like that's what Jay-Z does nowadays. Like literally he just like floated behind my back and then left.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you get to a certain status, it's like you kind of enjoy the peace, like the privateness and the peace and stuff like that, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like there's so much noise that's coming your way to your name and to who you are, so that, like, once you obtain that status, that's when you're like, okay, like, I just want to be a floater. I want people to like, I want to be unnoticeable at times.
exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, going back to the conversation at hand, with Metro Icon, it's just funny how just the process of really not only testing your metal, but also like finding like the new education, that comes with. Because I mean, like, I produced events before. I've never produced like a competition show before, and I don't. Have you ever worked on a competition show before?
I'm trying to think. Nah,
Yeah.
I can't say
So
that I
I
have.
mean, it was a new experience for so many people,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like this is the first, like, one of the very few times that, like, I saw the vision very clearly. This was
Yeah.
the one thing that, like, that finale was literally how I imagined it since day one. And like the moments and like that opener, right? And like that opener was, I sang The Greatest Showman, or
Yeah.
The Greatest Show from The Greatest Showman. And like that is the musical that, like, I'm like, this is the musical of my life. Like, when I watched the musical, that's where Shawn Kay the Showman came out, because I'm like, that's what I am. Like, I used to go by like MC Shawn Kay, and that's what I was known as. And
Okay.
so, but I'd be like MC Shawn Kay, but I'm also a singer, and I can DJ and I love live and I and then, I was, with everything with the business, I'm handling pretty much a majority of like the sales, like the negotiation or the contracting or, just an overall discussion with the clients for the bookings and stuff. So it's like understanding the business, but being a performer. And I wanted, and I felt like that MC Shawn Kay was too limiting, and I was
Yeah.
like, and it was getting like becoming behind me in the sense.
And that's probably one thing that people don't understand about being an entertainer. Whatever part you decide to be a part of, the business is a huge part of it.
Mhm.
And like, especially if you end up doing this for a living, you gotta be on your business because like if you can't talk to clients, like I had a client, I put in a contract for I'm doing a wedding in Dallas in April, and they were like, well, if you get sick, we shouldn't lose our deposit. And I'm like, yeah, I guess this is COVID
But I mean,
times.
wouldn't you find like another like
And that's what I told them. I was just
yeah.
like, this is something that I just do naturally. But I guess sometimes people get scared and they're just like, well, it's not in the contract, so I don't know if you would do that. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna put it in the contract
Yeah.
that if I were to get sick, which this is in everybody's contract,
Yeah.
if I was to get sick, I will either find a suitable replacement
Yeah.
or we can reschedule the date.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is in a normal contract. So
Right.
I had, but I think if you don't have the business acumen to even understand that, okay, how can I rebuttal this and put this into a wording that the client can understand? You know what I'm saying? That's important.
Well, and I think that it's, you can have, lines in your contract, that obviously protect you and you have to, but like I also understand that there's points you have to compromise sometimes for certain situations, for certain clients, whatever, because
Exactly.
sometimes that bad PR can work against you, and
Yeah.
you are so determined, to hold on to that deposit, with the event not going through. And which,
Yeah.
with COVID cancellations and all that kind of
That's a
stuff,
real thing.
it was a real thing. And people were like, "Oh, we're gonna go with someone else," and we wanted I'm like, "No, you're canceling on us."
Yeah,
It
exactly.
don't work that way. But there were certain situations that like, we're like, okay, we can see the situation for what it was. And so I'm like, okay,
Shoot, I had homies who had wedding businesses who had to give back hundreds of thousands of pre-ordered like dates because they're just like, this is ridiculous. Like it's literally 20 gigs that it's not their fault. This is
yeah.
something unprecedented. It's
Mhm.
not even like
Yeah.
a
Well, I mean, we just applied essentially what it is like, okay, your amount is applied for a contract of a future date. So you just tell me another event, tell me another date, and it's like whatever service you get, that amount you paid is just applied to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And but people were like, we're not doing another event. And I'm like, nothing. There's nothing you're doing that you're
You got your
gonna
grandmother's having a birthday.
yeah, yeah, like you got nobody, nothing.
We'll come do your funeral. No,
Yeah.
that is
I've done a funeral
you
before.
hey, I have too.
Yeah.
You know what? So living in New Orleans,
Which
you
New Orleans funerals are like a whole different level.
oh my gosh, this is a little off topic, but I feel like it needs to be said.
Yeah.
Like, so doing a New Orleans funeral is like nothing you've ever done. The first time I did a funeral was here with TBC Brass Band. I'm gonna shout them out right now because they pop my cherry when it comes to funerals
Oh,
here in New
shout
Orleans.
out TBC,
TBC
brass
Brass Band,
band
yeah, they're the
popping
truth.
that cherry.
But yo, so I have never seen. So we're playing a funeral. We're playing. It's live. Everybody jumping. It's like a parade. Like
Yeah,
everybody's
and
having
that's what I
fun.
heard about New Orleans funeral.
But yo, you've never seen some craziness like this. They got the casket in the car and they're going. They take the casket out of the funeral car.
And then yeah, and aren't they like kind of dancing with the
Dude,
casket?
yo, they pick it up. They pick the casket up and they're shaking it. They shake it up. They shake it down. They shake it up. They shake it. I was like, yo, I've never seen anything like this. I want this in my
He's
funeral.
just like in the casket, like
Hey man, he was doing the Harlem shaking there.
I'm straight up. Man, I mean, it's just it's wild, man, and it's crazy. We were talking about this yesterday because yesterday I spent hours just driving around the city, man, And, outside of, the downtown area, which is, you kind of have a little bit of that metropolitan feel, but it's a very small pocket. It's a very small pocket that I feel like is the metropolitan. And then everything around that and beyond is just literally to its core, like its roots.
Yeah.
It's like you see the age in everything. You know what I mean? And I feel like, it's like even if like there was a politician to come in and it was like, we're gonna clean it up and we're gonna, repaint, we're gonna rebuild this and rebuild it, like everyone in New Orleans, like, nah, I'm good. They're like, we're good.
It's all history
It
here.
is all history.
You
You
know what I'm saying?
feel that history here, man. Everything like
And they appreciate the culture that has came before them, which I feel like coming here, like I really started to appreciate the culture in Chicago, like
mhm,
when it comes to footwork,
mhm,
when it comes to house music,
mhm.
when it comes to like our rap history, like everything, jazz history. Cause I don't know if you know this, Chicago is the birthplace of free jazz.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I'm saying? Like I really started to appreciate all these things. And shoot, like people like Louis Armstrong, they all what's his name? I'm pretty sure that Jelly Roll
Buddy
Mort
Legends.
Buddy, yeah, all these people they moved to Chicago, and like Chicago was like a hub to come from the South and live and show your artistry, and so like it really gave me the opportunity to appreciate that. But yeah, it's crazy how much you can learn from going somewhere else.
Oh man.
Travel is important.
That is big for and especially for anybody that's watching or listening to this, especially if you are young, and I would say young like 25, like that 18 to 25 like range.
Shoot,
Like
even if you're 45,
I
it's
mean, true. Yes. It doesn't matter like what age you are, but like if you are still in your hometown, if you're still in your hometown, you are almost limiting yourself to like your next level of growth
yeah,
if you don't experience living somewhere else. And you could always go back to your
that's
hometown.
it.
You could always go back to your
You should
hometown.
go back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going back.
I mean, don't go. You ain't necessarily have to go back to live.
I'm loving it down in Dallas.
Yeah,
I definitely am loving the living out there. And and again, I'm back in Chicago. My parents still live there, but they are selling their place to eventually move to Dallas as well.
oh,
I mean,
wow.
there's
That's beautiful.
nothing holding them back. There's nothing
I mean,
really.
your sister's there now too,
My
right?
sister's been in Dallas like for 4 or 5 years, and then now I'm there, and it's kind of like, you know, my parents are getting older, and those winters are not getting easier, and so it's like
Ooh,
I have to.
global warming.
We got to be yeah, but we got to be. I also got to be conscious because my either one of my parents they take a slip and fall, like it's not something they can just get up from, you
Yeah,
know. Like, I can take a slip and fall and stuff like that and brush it off, and more than likely, I'll be fine, but it's just like, that's not the story with my parents, and
yeah.
my dad has, like, arthritis and gout and takes, like, 8 to 12 pills a day, like, that man is just he's just like a walking, like, what's gonna
I
happen?
feel like at this point we should have like a commercial for mesothelioma.
Yeah, I know. Like, are you is arthritis is arthritis preventing you from living your best life? Like
But yeah, nah, that's a real thing. Like, like I feel like I've said this to my parents and they're like, that's not the case. We're gonna be independent forever. But I feel like at some point, like, your parents parent you and then you kind of end up parenting your
yeah,
parents,
yeah.
you know?
And it's hard for them to ever see them because they're always gonna see you as their child, and they're always gonna, like my mom. It doesn't matter if like life is going really well; she's always going to be worried. It's like natural Indian mother like intuition to just be worried about your kids,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so it's one of those things though. But like it's just those they're gonna have a happier like lifestyle as long not only being close to their kids, but also the grandkids. The grandkids is what keeps them healthy and especially
Yeah.
for like my dad and all that kind of stuff. They're working out that trend. They're hopefully putting their house back on the market in next month, and then we'll see how it goes from
Oh, that
there.
sounds fun.
But I mean, it's just Chicago is just the culture, like it really is bred to who I am,
Yeah.
100%. But it's just there was opportunity in Dallas that I knew I was not gonna be able to obtain in Chicago. And I
And
and
that's kinda why I moved to New Orleans originally, moved to Dallas, and now I'm back here, so I
Yeah.
feel that, yeah.
And but I mean, and it's great. And for me, it's kind of like that's what kind of cool about this episode is that like, all right, you know what? Did the 8 hour drive, overnight, came out here, and I'm like, all right, let me see how my boy is doing, type of thing.
Dude, don't let borders, driving if you gotta drive 15 hours and there's an opportunity, go do it,
I
like
listen, man, I love driving.
yeah,
I am a like dude, I like eat naturally. I drive like no less than like 100 to 200 miles a day.
yeah.
Like I drive a lot. That's why I got a hybrid because it's just but I have a great hybrid. It's got hybrid with storage space. It's got functionality. I mean, I love my RAV4. My 2019
That's it,
RAV4 is,
man, yeah.
is the business. The other side too is I put that Firefly display on top, so it's like I'm capitalizing on as much as my car, as long as my car is on, I'm getting paid for that display.
Yeah.
So I'm capitalizing as much as I can as well. But yeah, I just enjoy driving like to the fullest. I think there's a calmness to it. Like I'm able to get everything I want out of a drive. I can handle business while I'm driving. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like even if I'm driving Lyft, like I'll take a call and and most of my passengers I'll be like, hey, this is somewhat of a business call. Do you mind if I take it? But if it's gonna bother you, I'll wait until I drop you off. And they're like, "No, man, handle your business. It's all good." I'm like, "Ah, man, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it." And for them, it like gives them an opportunity to also kind of see this like businessman that's like, just it's like they're like, I'm not just Lyft driver. I'm just doing this for like the extra hustle.
And
So,
that's another thing, like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand that service workers, no matter where you're at, it's plenty of them that are working other
oh
businesses.
yeah.
They're trying to grow something. They got a dream, and you need to treat that person with respect because you never know where you can see them at. They might be your boss one day. You know what I'm saying? You might be trying to get a job with them. You got to treat them well.
I'll tell you a funny story, man. One, well, I remember one of my cousins telling me, he's like, dude, he's like, I went to go see a new doctor today, and that doctor was a stripper who gave me a lap dance like 3, 4 years ago. And I was like, what? And I'm like, respect
uh,
the service worker.
man, she,
Because that's a service. But I mean, but again, it's kind of like, we live in a societal world that like, is going to judge that exotic dancer. Somebody here is like, oh, I'm a stripper, I'm an exotic dancer. They're gonna judge them, not knowing, not knowing if, you know, what they're really working towards, and some people are just, working, certain jobs to be able to pay the bills and all that. Okay.
yeah. No, I get you.
So we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay.
No, 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 you're good. I'm just
I was
fixing.
saw a look in your eyes, and I wasn't sure what was going on.
Nah,
So
nah, I got it. Yeah.
he always got it because he's too bad.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he told me that story. He's like, no, 100%. Like she was a dance. I remember her like vividly, and I remember I was like, he's like, she came into the room, and it was like, man, this woman is very attractive. She's like, but I've seen her somewhere, and it was like right before that like doctor's visit ended. He was like, oh my god, like it was like one of those things.
Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
But you never know. It's
you
like
never
you
know. Yeah.
just can't judge a book by its cover, like in any element. You know what I mean?
Nah, I mean, and that's the thing, man. Like, people might be down on their luck. Like,
Hmm.
you could be homeless,
Absolutely.
put on a suit today, and be the CEO of some company tomorrow. Like,
Yeah,
it,
absolutely.
like people being down on their
Pursuit of
luck.
Happiness, baby. The Chris Gardner story. That's like
That's it. Like,
I will like when I feel real struggle. That is a movie I'll definitely put on. Like if I feel struggle, I'm like, okay. Then I watch it. I'm like, oh, life is not that cold. Like it's not as cold. So I mean, that's and I felt like with Metro Icon, there was a lot of judgment that I got that during the beginning stages and in the process of people judging the result or being like, oh, it's not going to go
well,
anywhere.
dude, okay, so this is the thing. And this is something I've noticed in life. If someone has enough time to put you down for trying, they're not doing anything.
That's preach. Yes. I mean, I believe that. I believe that
Yeah,
because man, like the bar that the bar that I had issues with in Arlington, the one that I
yeah,
did that one Monday and then never showed up again.
yeah.
And like I remember she just was dogging me, bro. Like dog. And the funny thing was none of my venues throughout the preliminaries paid anything. They didn't pay a single like I came up, I set up, I ran, put on a whole show. They didn't pay me a single thing. And they were
They didn't even give you a piece of the bar?
they were supposed to, but when there was no results, it was like I was like, okay, you know what? It's cool. Like,
Yeah,
what are you gonna pay me? Like $10, like 15
yeah,
bucks? Like,
uh-huh,
really, it's not going to help me in any sort of way. But like the gesture is, better than the payment type of thing. Or so I'm
yeah,
like,
mhm,
for like, if it's not producing so much more, then it's like, okay, I get it. It's fine. And again, it's like I'm still the new kid on the block, so I'm still trying to establish relationships with venues and all. But this woman, like, just it didn't matter what I was saying. She just had this idea in her head about me being a scam artist and me being a fraud. And she was literally berating me in the middle of the bar. This was like a GM of this dive bar in Arlington.
and
And it was funny how she's
mm,
like, I already, oh, the one thing I remember, she was just her hands, it's like, I already know, honey. I already know. You ain't gonna fool me. I already understand. This ain't gonna go nowhere. You're just gonna take these people's money. You're gonna run. I'm like, you don't know me at all. Like, where is this whole like presumptuous like conclusion coming to that I've given you nothing to say that I'm a scam. And I paid out that top performer prize to a local, which he won it by crowd, which was a locally slanted crowd. It was
ooh,
bogus as all hell.
but
And
okay,
he wasn't the best performer, but it was because it was a slanted crowd. It was like the locals just
but
cheered for him.
you know what's crazy? The name of the competition is Icon,
Mhm.
and so
And that dude didn't even show up. He didn't even show up for the competition.
yeah, okay, so this is the thing. This is the thing that like, and, I feel like all of us judges, like, there was a person that we were like, "Okay, cool. This is the person that we voted," and if it would have just been a a judge competition and only the judges, he would have won, and there was a clear person that we all saw,
Mhm.
but when it comes down to it, everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, the talented rise to the top," when they talk about the music industry. It's not always the most talented that rises to the top.
Marketability, man. Marketability, like who if you it's you have to grab the attention of the masses. That's the whole point of being a successful artist.
You got to.
And so and absolutely right. And I'm excited because on episode 4 is when we're going to be starting to do the interviews, and the first artist I have lined up is Sir Nix,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to have that conversation with him because Scooter won second place, so he was like got that close but no cigar, and it's like that man, he deserved the win. He definitely 100, and he scored higher
Yeah, when it came to the
when
vo
the actual, yes, the
yeah.
actual like performance and the singing and what he did, and then, like he performed even his original song Night Ride, and still like he killed it, and it's a great song, but he killed and brought that delivery and sold everything he's ever done, and on top of that has shown so much support for every single singer, so much love regardless of what he was going through, and that man probably had one of the hardest struggles of any contestant in the
And
competition.
so with that being said, the thing that for next season,
Get
key to
ready.
next season,
Mhm.
the performers need to understand that when it comes down to it, you guys also need to make sure that you're not just building relationships with the host, not
Mhm.
just building relationships with the judges. You need to be building real relationships with real people,
Yeah.
because real people are the ones who can help you win this competition. But even further, if you want to make this into a career, those are the people who are going to make this a career. It's not no label, it's not
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
producer, it's not nothing. If you don't have a relationship with real people, whether it be a one to one or they just love your music, you have nothing.
Facts. And it's not also that Scooter doesn't have that social ability. He 100% does.
He has it,
He
yeah.
100% does. But it is you have to understand like the business idea of like marketing yourself. And a lot of the artists didn't do that. They
Yeah.
weren't sharing the competition. They
Ooh.
weren't posting on their story. Like you all have Instagrams, you all have Facebook. Some of y'all have TikTok. Like you weren't utilizing any of the free platforms that you're on to literally tell people about what's going on and or if anything showing it once. And then I'm like, you can't expect people to show up that way. And Tony did a great job of taking his circle and telling them, hey, tell people what's going on.
He
And
had a
they
full
all
crowd every
and
night.
he had like at least 8 to 10 people in his corner. And it's not that he has a larger support system, even if he does, but he literally told, he's like, please come and support me. He
Mm.
asked people, like, he took like his ego or his pride out of it. He's like, yo, come and support me. And that support that he gained, he literally built a following that he didn't expect would ever happen.
You know who else was doing that the whole time? The Hernandez family.
Yes. I mean, they were an army on their own.
You know what I'm saying? Hey.
They came, I mean, just their family alone was their own army.
Oh,
But
yeah.
100%, yes, they were really showcasing and putting out the word, and shout out to Victoria Hernandez who got third place and the other Marcos, Leticia, Monique. And Monique is the catalyst on how pretty much the rest of them got in there.
Yeah.
And Monique even paid Victoria's, I think Sia and Victoria's registration fee.
Wow.
And so like, and so it's just it's one of those things where like talking to some of the contestants, yes, I understand their disappointment and where they're coming from. And they're like, and it's like Tony's a white boy. Tony's a white boy, and that's why. And I'm like, listen,
Nah.
it's like there is truth, but you're also not seeing the other side of the work that Tony actually put in
He put
to
in some
get
work,
those
yeah.
results. And he did, because the live, and especially like those live streams, he got all of his supporters to also share the live stream, which what won the votes for him.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? So can I tell the truth about
Please.
the judging part? Tony wouldn't have gotten to the final round
Yes.
if it wasn't for him sharing the semifinal round the
Yeah.
live stream.
Because he was outside of like fifth place for the top five.
Yeah, he was outside of it.
He was outside of the top five. He scored less. He was like in sixth, but because of his votes, it brought him literally just above the mark. And then he kicked it up.
Yeah,
He
he did,
definitely
yeah.
like took advantage of this second chance, because
Yeah.
I remember having a comment, I'm like, bro, you got lucky as all hell, dude. Like straight up, if it was straight judges scores, bro, you would
was
not,
out.
you would have been
Yeah.
out 100%. And then that's when he came back. I think that was the judge's choice.
Yeah.
They did the judge's choice, whatever, at the top five, and he like killed it. He
Yeah.
100% brought another level up. Like he took advantage of his shot, and again, whatever, however the universe works, it's like that's the business, and that's the reason why I brought in the whole text voting element, because it's like, again, it's like artistry is subjective. Even as a working professional, it's this artistry is subjective. And like it's funny because like Larry King, right? Like Larry King, who is the king in the realm of what we do. This man knows what he's talking about, but is he always right? No, and he knows that. He knows that also, but he also knows the what's going to sell.
So you want to know an artist that I'm not the biggest fan of?
Oh, geez, yes.
Okay.
If you say Shawn Kay, my heart's gonna break.
I hate this dude. No, so Keisha Cole, not my favorite artist. So Keisha Cole, there was a time.
She is a great singer.
No.
Fantastic singer.
I hate her singing. I don't feel like she can sing that well. So when it comes down to it, like I don't think she's the best singer. I've heard her sing the national anthem Like we were my band in college, we were opening up for the Cowboys game, and I heard some she was all over the place. And then we walked in and they were like, I was like, who is that singing? This is horrible. Keisha Cole. But like the thing about Keisha Cole is it doesn't matter how good you can sing because her songs that she writes,
Mhm. She's
she
probably a better writer than she
what
is as yeah.
she talks about things that are so connectable to
Mhm,
people,
mhm.
and she speaks, and you know what I'm saying, like when you're crying and you're sad and I can't believe this man did this to me, it doesn't matter how you sing those songs and you're like, oh my gosh, it makes me feel better because I feel all of this. So when it comes down to it, you got to connect with that crowd.
Yeah,
Like that's the whole
absolutely,
thing. It
absolutely.
doesn't matter, and that's again back to
And
karaoke.
yeah, yep.
You know,
And it's so again, it's like this competition, I felt officially eliminated the stigma but with artists and musicians especially looking at karaoke as not something that showcases real talent or true artistry. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, there are actual artists that come sing karaoke, and you kind of need to recognize the culture because karaoke is also a heavily accepting community. They
yeah,
accept everybody. They accept the misfits, the weirdos, the uncomfortable, the awkward, the, not so attractive. Like they accept literally every person and even yes, I there are 100% of many people within karaoke that get up and sing and they cannot sing a note for their life, but it's they respect their human nature to the fullest, and you don't get that in a
nah.
lot of other like stages or platforms in the world, like where it's people can let go of any type of first impression and just respect you for getting on stage and touching a mic, on which what 70 to 80% of the world won't even do.
It's all about authenticity as long as
Absolutely.
even if you didn't write the words,
Hmm.
if it's authentic
To
to you,
you, yes,
it's real.
it's real. Absolutely,
And
man.
people expect real. So, um, w I wanna, before we get up out of here, I want you to go ahead and give what are some of the takeaways that you got from starting this competition? And what are some of the takeaways that really changed you as a person by even putting this together?
I think this journey proved that I'm able to handle a lot more than I even understood. It made me also understand the true idea of it ain't over till it's over.
Ooh,
Um, because there were times where I had a scheduled show and I didn't even have a venue until like literally the night before.
yeah,
And it's like that it's so scary, right? On top of that, I put this entire competition on without a single corporate sponsorship or outside funding coming my way. And I'm still paying the bills for Metro Icon, but hopefully as it moves forward, I have the proof of concept. I won't have to worry about dipping into my own fucking account and shit.
yeah,
Um, but the other side of it too, and this being the hardest struggling venture I've ever done in my career, having to do it with the loss of my closest uncle, you
yeah.
know, understanding that regardless of what happens in life, the show must go on.
That's it.
And there's been so many moments in my career where I've had to sacrifice, not going to a lot of family occasions, including weddings, but also funerals. And, and being able to compromise that. And my uncle got sick, going to the hospital, where it was the start of his decline right before the preliminaries, and then we lost him right before the competition. It was literally like days right
3 days
before,
before.
right? And so, and he was the singer of our family. He was the energy, he was the light, he was me and him, we had a closeness because our likeness was so like just even genetically. Like my hairline was just like his. He kept his, I didn't, but like, my flat feet and, just like just certain just physical qualities are like him, but my energy, my presence and my personality and my singing acumen, like, and I got that from him. He was a man, especially after he got diagnosed with esophageal cancer. Like, he became the most realist self because he respected life and what it gave to you. And so me and him had that honesty and transparency where I didn't have to hold back with him than I would with my other average Indian uncles and aunts. But losing him throughout this journey, and he was that one person aside from like my parents and stuff like that, I wanted to see this happen,
Well,
and
I'm gonna let you know this, that he definitely got to see it happen.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
you made him proud, and this life is about doing one step better than the last generation. And he might not have been able to live out his dreams the way he wanted to, but I'm sure him looking down, he's seeing you live on the dreams that you have set out forth, and he's proud of you. I can tell you that.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. And his kids got to see it, and after that tribute performance, I like, took like a few minutes, during y'all and Larry's performance and stuff. I took a few minutes, in the green room to collect my emotions after that tribute, and then I went out and saw my cousins, and I fucked them up, like,
Yeah.
and, especially the middle one he's 16.
Yeah.
I don't he wasn't really facing his emotions, and it finally like came and hit in full swing, and he was just could not come out, like could not come out, and it was like I had to come there and embrace him. But it also meant a lot to the family, and tribute for him, but also I've lost other family members to cancer and stuff. So, and then we also included like people part of the Metro Icon experience, whether contestants or audience members, and they submitted people that they lost, and so being able to tribute them as well, again, like the impact, realizing that sometimes your vision, as much as somebody else can't see the impact, as long as your intentions are pure and they're for the good and you're not hurting anyone and you're doing something that is better, that's only going to better yourself and challenge you. That is the biggest thing,
That's it.
like
Yeah.
you can't grow doing something that's easy to you. You need
Oh
to
man.
do things that are challenging. And especially those challenging things is something that you love, then that's it. And so, and for me, I've been a karaoke lover for so long that doing this and being able to guide these artists, which at the end of this, they all became really artists, you know, guiding them and pointing out these elements, even small or big, that's going to help them be even better that next time they hit a stage. It was profound. It was a profound experience. So, it's just one of those things where, stay in the vision. If you truly believe in it, stay in that vision. Don't let anything or anyone tell you, because I think the one thing I very much allowed myself not to do was like understand like a an obstacle as not being unsolvable.
That's it. Yeah.
And I just kept making efforts and movements, and it would be like no, 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 yes, thank you. Okay, so like, so I just refused to, until like that 13th hour came, I refused to see like in like a failure or obstacle that like was, oh God, this is not happening. I'm like, okay, I just kept going. And then so many things happened in the 13th hour. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like this thing I scheduled, I can do it now. Like, I hit that deadline mark.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's an important thing. And
It's just staying in it.
you know what I'm
So
saying? I'm
yeah.
looking forward to talking about some more stuff moving forward. What we got on for the next episode? What we gonna
I
be doing?
think if I understand what we do, I think we're talking about passion, like passion through the industry, but it was like passion through vision, and like working at your artistry. I think that's kind of the next conversation. I gotta look at the conversation notes. I know we
Okay.
we had that our notes of topics that we want to talk about.
Well, y'all stick around, and if y'all got some ideas of things that you want us to talk about,
Absolutely.
make sure you put it in the comments.
Yes.
Email us, let us know. You can follow me at Tuba Drip. That's Tuba dripping on them. Tuba dripping on them.
Uh
Tuba dripping on them. Tuba dripping on them. Tuba drip dropping on them. That's TUBADRIP.
That's right. And I'm Shawn Kay Do It All on all Instagram platforms, or in all Instagram platforms on Instagram. But it's Shawn Kay Do It All, Shawn Kay the Showman. You search that on Google, you'll pretty much find. But if you go to theshowman.live, you find everything you need to know about me, and you get connected to all my social medias and my original content. And we'll obviously have all of it posted in the graphics, hopefully in the video as well. But yes, we want to hear from you guys as artists, as entrepreneurs within the entertainment or media
As
industry, as
creatives.
as creatives, any type of general creative. I think insight is something that is universal to whatever path you're leading, even if it's not likeness to yours.
Yeah,
So
and let us know. Let us know about your experiences with creativity and the things that you've went through. And we would love to share it in the show too. Just let other people know about you know the human experience, because the human experience is important. Just because your testimony of what you've went through can help somebody else.
being human is universal. We are all human on this planet. And the beautiful part too is that aside from the live interviews, and we're going to be showcasing pretty much local artists on the show. Like, you're going to hear music that's not mainstream. It's going to be all the local artists that we are coming our
We're gonna
past
make
to.
it mainstream.
Yeah, we gonna make it mainstream. That's the damn show.
uh,
But we're also, if we feature those artists, we're also going to find time to also interview those artists. And we're hoping to not only do these interviews, but also do live shows. And what I mean by that are live shows at venues with the live audience. And we might be putting on like an open mic and karaoke during the actual podcast show as well. So
let's go.
that there's a lot that's happening with the Metro Icon podcast. And you can catch me and my boy Tubad. Thank you for opening up your home for these few episodes that we're going to be doing here.
Yeah.
In the New Orleans vibe right now, Metro Icon podcast. I'm Shawn Kay the Showman.
And I'm too bad. Let's
That's
go.
right. You know what it is. And we'll see you guys for the next episode.
Peace.
You.
You could do it all. You can.
Do it all, baby.